Unicorn bones. Unicorns and mythological horses with a horn. They are a big part of folklore in a lot of countries and are the national animal of Scotland. Despite their cultural importance, they aren't real, right? Well, that's what I thought until I saw this picture. I found this image on the internet while I was researching for this video, and it totally shocked me. It looks like the remains of a real-life unicorn. After some digging around, I couldn't find a proper source for this picture, so I think it could be a fake or an art piece or something like that. Although that doesn't mean that unicorns aren't real. In 2012, North Korea declared it had found a unicorn lair, which, believe it or not, isn't actually the craziest thing that Kim Jong-un has ever claimed. In 2016, the Siberian unicorn was discovered. The one-horned creature walked the earth 29,000 years ago, but it looks nothing like the creature from myth and legends. Check it out. Not cute, right? World's deepest hole. Okay, so this isn't so much a scary discovery found buried in the ground, but it is something terrifying lurking super deep in the dirt. The Kola Super Deep Borehole is a hole 7.5 miles deep in the ground and has been dubbed the Well to Hell. The hole is located in the Kola Peninsula in Russia and started as a project by the Soviet Union, who wanted to be the first to dig to the Earth's mantle. The mantle can only be reached by breaking through the entirety of the Earth's crust, and the Soviets only managed to reach about a third of the way down. The project was aborted in the 1990s because temperatures were so hot miles down in the Earth that they started to melt the power tools being used to dig. Temperatures of 356 degrees Fahrenheit were recorded, which was much hotter than the Soviet scientists had anticipated. So what has happened to the 40,230-foot hole since the mission was aborted? It's now covered over by a rusty metal lid. It isn't like a person could fall down the hole. It's only 9 inches in diameter, but some small animals could fall down it, and there would be no way out. So that is terrifying. Bog butter. I think this is more gross than scary, but either way, it makes my skin crawl. It turns out that thousands of years ago, before we had cool things like fridges, people were going around burying their dairy products in swamps, or bogs as they call them in Europe. Fair enough if they dug them up when they needed it, but it seems that thousands of years of old slimy fat has been hauled up from bogs in Ireland and Scotland. In 2011, over 100 pounds of bog butter was found in Tullamore in Ireland. Ew, I'm not into this. Fatberg. If bog butter made you want to puke, I'd maybe skip to number 6. Oh, you still with me? Okay, I warned you. In 2013, a mushy deposit of congealed fat, dubbed Fatberg, was found clogging up a sewer in London. The huge ball of fat was the size of a London bus and weighed 15 tons. It was only discovered because people in the Kingston area noticed their toilets weren't flushing. When a worker went down underground to investigate the sewer, they were confronted with the giant lump of fat. Okay, I might actually throw up. As scary and as gross as this discovery was, apparently it could have been much worse. It's said that the Fatberg was so big it nearly burst the sewer, which would have meant sewage would have started spurting out of manholes. Yikes! According to waste managers, the reason the Fatberg was able to form was because people were pouring fat down their sinks and flushing non-biodegradable wipes down their toilets. The two stuck together and voila! Fatberg. Cursed cash. If you think finding $150,000 in your backyard sounds too good to be true, in this story, it really is. Wayne Sabaj was picking broccoli in his yard in 2011 when he unearthed a stash of cash buried in plastic bags. Sabaj was unemployed at the time and was excited about this upturn in his fortune, until the daughter of his 87-year-old neighbor staked her own claim to the money. She said her elderly mother had thought the cash was cursed and so had attempted to get rid of it. Her daughter argued that she was not of sound mind and that the money belonged to her family. Sabaj was awarded the money by a court, but died just 10 days before he was set to collect it. His father also suffered a heart attack. Perhaps the money was cursed after all. Sweatshop. In 2013, a secret underground sweatshop was found in Moscow. 260 Asian workers were locked up underneath a market in what has since been described as an underground city. The compound contained a cinema, a cafe, and a whole bunch of chickens. The workers claimed that they were working 12-hour days for 7 days a week for just over $100. It isn't known who was in charge of the migrants, but after the sweatshop was discovered, it was raided by police and the workers were rounded up by immigration officers. Cruel King. For those of you who don't know much about British history, there's been a long line of kings and queens who have ruled the country for over 1,000 years. Some have been good. Some have been bad. Think Game of Thrones, but without the dragons and zombies. One of the kings and the worst rep for cruelty was King Richard III. If you're into Shakespeare, you might have seen the play about this historical villain. It's a long one, so if you don't have 3 hours, all you need to know is that the dude was cruel. You wouldn't have liked him. A real bad guy. Anyway, it seems like he got what was coming to him. Historians knew he was killed in a battle in 1485, but it seems like his body was just kinda left there to rot. Fast forward to 2012, and his remains were found under a parking lot in the British city of Leicester. The discovery was much publicized, and it was proven beyond doubt that the remains were his. It isn't every day a murderous king is found in the ground after hundreds of years. Also, fun fact, it was also proven that actor Benedict Cumberbatch is a direct descendant of his. Bassano vase. Whether the Bassano vase is real or just an urban legend, nobody knows. I'll tell you the story and you can decide. The earliest account of the Bassano vase comes from 15th century Italy, where it was said that it was given to a young bride the night before her wedding. What seemed to be a thoughtful gift turned out to bring terrible luck. The bride passed away before she could say her vows. The vase was passed around the family until it brought about more bad luck. The story goes that it was buried in the Italian countryside when it laid undiscovered until 1988, when it was dug up by an unsuspecting young man. The vase then continued its spell of causing grave misfortune. It's said that the vase was brought up with a written warning saying, "Beware, this vase brings death." The man auctioned the vase for $2,500 and the buyer, a pharmacist, died within 3 months of his purchase. The vase was then responsible for the death of a doctor before it was reburied in an undisclosed location. If you find a silver vase in the ground in Italy, leave it there. Plague Pit. In 2009, construction on a new London subway system began. Crossrail is a 73-mile railway due to be finished in 2022 and will connect the suburbs to the city center. The project is set to cost over $20 billion and has been met with a lot of delays and creepy surprises along the way. In 2015, a mass burial site was unearthed near Liverpool Street Station. 42 skeletons were found in a pit marked with 1665, the year of the Great Plague. That isn't the only gruesome plague discovery either. 13 skeletons, believed to be victims of the 14th century Black Death, were found nearby in Farringdon. Concerns about old illnesses being unearthed were raised at the beginning of the construction project, but luckily, no active viruses have been found. Terracotta soldiers. Imagine digging for a well and uncovering a statue of a soldier, and then digging a little more and discovering a whole army. This is what happened to a Chinese farmer in 1974 when they accidentally made one of the world's biggest archaeological discoveries. The men were desperate for water in the middle of a drought, but instead of finding the precious liquid, they found life-size pottery heads. The Terracotta Army was buried with Emperor Qin Shi Huang in 209 BCE. After further excavation, a total of 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots, 520 regular horses, and 150 cavalry horses were discovered. The findings were kind of a curse for the farmers. It caused them to fight despite the value of what they found. Most of them died peasants. Some people considered the statues to be cursed. Whether or not that was the case, it must have been terrifying to discover a whole army buried in the dirt. That was 10 scary discoveries found buried underground.